breathing techniques, particularly box breathing, alternate nasal breathing, and relaxation breathing to induce calmness. Eat, move, sleep, breathe, and focus and prosper. Some of the things that you really need to work on, but there are many times when you need to avoid the amygdala hijack that they describe that goes on in your brain when you're in an important meeting and you cannot think well. What they talk about is the prefrontal cortex, the left and the right ventrolateral prefrontal cortex, the higher order executive function. Just at the time when you really want to think well, you're caught up in this amygdala hijack, the threat response part of the inner brain, two almond-shaped parts in the brain, where you go through freeze, flight, or fight. But the end result is you're back into your primeval reptilian brain, where it's just freeze and try and hide and hope that the scary thing won't find you. Flight, run as hard as you can to get away from things, or finally turn and fight. But all those responses mean that the normal higher order executive function, decision-making, is thrown to the wind. Indeed, you've come across times when people are so scared they urinate or they defecate because, like animals, they're just trying to empty everything and get away from the situation. Hopefully that won't happen in one of your key meetings. But you can see the point that it takes you over. The red mist might descend if you're angry, or just your brain gets completely foggy and freezes over and you can't think well. This is when, and you can do these techniques quietly in a meeting. People often don't know you're doing it. They will spot certain techniques, such as the alternate nasal breathing, but the box breathing they won't spot. Indeed, it's become recognized as so useful, the power of breathing, that Navy SEALs and Marines use the box breathing frequently in combat situations before they're going into combat situation to get their mind thinking at the highest order that it possibly can, and to calm the body down, relax yourself when you're coping and you're in high states of stress and fear. The other important technique to practice from two books, one's called The Oxygen Advantage, and the other one is, bear with me a second. As they say, life is what happens when you're making other plans. And that was a call from the doctor that I used to take. However, I'm now back and I'm now getting my breathing sorted out. So we're talking about dealing with situations where you use nasal breathing. The Oxygen Advantage by Patrick McKeown, and other techniques around how you breathe, really important. And breathing through the nose rather than the mouth, if you can, at night when you're sleeping, certainly in training. I find I'm doing a lot of endurance cycling at the moment, and where I can, I'm always trying to breathe through my nose, in and out through my nose. It cleans, humidifies the air that comes in, and also it adds nitric oxide into the body, which is a calming, relaxing technique. So whenever you can, breathe in. The breathing techniques we're going to talk about, breathe in and out through the nose. There are occasions when breathing out through the mouth might work well. We talk about three different techniques: box breathing, what we call the 4-4 technique, alternate nostril breathing, and 4-6-8 breathing technique for relaxation. Firstly, the box breathing. It's a technique to promote relaxation and reduce stress. It involves a pattern of holding after inhaling, then exhaling, and then holding the breath again, each for the count of 4. So the steps are: inhale slowly through your nose, counting to 4. Hold your breath to the count of 4. Exhale slowly through your nose to the count of 4, and hold your breath again for the count of 4 before you inhale and go through the process again. You repeat it for several minutes, focusing on your breath. And it's quite a useful mindfulness technique, keeping a steady rhythm. So it will be like this: breathe in for 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold for 4, 3, 2, 1. Breathe out for 4, 3, 2, 1, and hold for 4, 3, 2, 1. And then you go through that technique again. So you can practice that. It's box breathing. You can do that in meetings when you're on a Zoom or a Teams call, or you're in a meeting and you're finding yourself getting agitated, or there's someone banging on and they're particularly wrong or being obnoxious or being a narcissist, all the kind of things you tend to find in meetings. And that's when you use the 4-4-4 box breathing technique. And I said, used by special forces. The next one that I'd like you to think about is what's called alternate nostril breathing. And alternate nostril breathing is what they call a pranayama technique. I'm not sure if I even pronounce it correctly, used in yoga, that aims to balance the flow of energy in the body and induce calmness. Now, here's a simplified version of the practice. Sit in a comfortable position with your spine upright. Close the right nostril with your thumb, and you inhale through the left nostril to a comfortable count. You could do it to, let's say, 4. And then you close the left nostril with the first finger and release the right nostril and exhale through the right. Then you inhale through the right, and then close with the right thumb, and you exhale with the left, and then inhale with the left. So let me just sort of show you as best I can while trying to explain it. So I'm going to close my right nostril here. And so the technique would go on, exhaling and inhaling through one side, and then exhaling and inhaling through the other side. It is wonderfully calming. And I've found that even as I'm describing it to you, just doing a few techniques there, it works very well. And then there's a 4-6-8 breathing technique, which I sometimes use if I'm a bit stressed while trying to get to sleep, or my mind's been wound up by something. I've been working in the middle of the night and I want to get back to sleep as quickly as possible. It's a relaxation that reduces anxiety, if you've got any anxiety, and induces a state of calm. And the 4-6-8 is breathing in for the count of 4, holding for the count of 6. So you're increasing the amount of time from the box breathing of 4-4-4, and then breathing out the count of 8, which is a really long breathing out, and then in for 4, hold for 6, out for 8. So I don't need to describe that to you. That might get a little bit boring watching me breathing. However, this idea of sitting up nice and straight, or you could be lying down, where you're breathing in just through the nostrils to the count of 4, you're holding for 6, and then you're breathing out for 8. So in for 4, hold for 6, out for 8. And remember, these are great techniques, beneficial for relaxation, for stress reduction. But do remember to practice it in a safe environment. It's not a good idea to be driving while you're trying to do that, because you might lose focus on what you're doing at the time. So somewhere where you're safe. You could be a passenger by all means, but don't do it while you're doing crucial other things that you should be focused on instead. And as always with any of these things, if you have an underlying health problem, check with a healthcare professional and make sure that it's good for you. You might find, for example, your nose is so blocked up you cannot breathe through your nose. So those are some things and some techniques for you to take in: breathing, nasal breathing, and relaxation techniques, which will really help you to get a control over the prefrontal cortex. Good luck.